Welcome, Coleman Report Live, March 5th edition. We're sort of cobbling this together, Lance. I've told the story. My poor producer, Joseph, sliced his hand from here to the bone, 15 stitches. So he is on the disabled list, and we're trying to cobble this together. We're bringing Katie in to help out. And so we'll see how this goes.
It's going to be a good day. I'm sorry.
You know, I'm off script already. Susie Granger and Jennifer Blooming.
Blooming.
I don't know why I can't do this. I don't know why. Susie's our sponsor today. They are live from Salt Lake City. Susie, what's going on?
Hey, Bob. So nice to be able to participate with you guys today. I am indeed here at Zion's headquarters in Salt Lake City for the America West Road Show. DRDA is happy to be a participant in this great SBA lending event. DRDA provides the Borsa Plan, a 401k rollover solution allowing your borrowers to access retirement funds tax and penalty free and use as equity in their 7A or 504 loan. I'm joined here today by Jennifer Blooming, that is our master of ceremonies here and the guru behind it all for America West Road Show.
Jennifer, I understand we may have a mysterious guest popping in.
Yes. So Regional Administrator Daniel Norberg for Region 8 should be here later. He had to run an errand with David Glockham. So they are doing that and coming back. But I believe before the show is over, we should hear from him.
Just interrupt us because this is obviously,
it'll be breaking news. I mean, you'll definitely want to hear what he has to say.
Well, the first question is, and I know Susie's already answered this, but new SOP dropped today?
No, I don't believe so. Yeah. But we have plenty to talk about here anyway with the
we do. All right. So I am now in charge of the slide. I don't know. Chris, are you on? Negative. I don't know. He's supposed to be on, but there you go. Hey, Lance, I want to start something serious. Obviously, I don't believe this is 2008, but there's a lot of interesting news going on. Lance, I work out of the house, and so I go out I have a couple of favorite restaurants I go out to. And both of the owners said it's crickets. Their sales are down 50% from this week to last week.
Well, Bob, as an SBA lender, you've got a lot of servicing options in your toolbox to help a struggling small business lender. One of my favorite stories is I had a restaurant loan that I did, and the city decided to reroute all the underground drainage and redo the street and widen it and do new sidewalks. Well, during the construction process, my borrower struggled mightily, and I implemented a 6-month deferral of principal and interest payments for this borrower to get them through part of that construction period. I think it's a great time for all of us as SBA participant lenders to dust off the 5057-2, which we have a new servicing SOP that's supposed to be out, I was told, possibly late March, early April, as soon as the 5010-6 comes out. But there are a lot of things SBA lenders can do to help small businesses get through difficult times. And with the dramatic swings in the stock market, with the potential fear of the coronavirus, individuals probably are keeping a little closer to home right now, and small businesses will feel that.
I personally think it's the flu, but it doesn't matter. What I think is how people are reacting. Hey, Jennifer, I see you have a special guest.
Yes, what I mentioned earlier, but this is just as special here. So we've got Blake Zumrunin of Zions Bank, our host today. So Blake.
Hi, Bob. Thanks.
How's the conference?
So far, so good. Yep, we are a couple hours in, and it's going really well. So,
Blake, tell us what you do.
So I work for Zions Bank in the National Real Estate Group. We lend primarily to small businesses nationwide.
What is your footprint?
that are buying commercial real estate?
What is your personal footprint that you focus on? Nationwide or?
Yeah, nationwide.
How's the economy in Salt Lake City?
Strong.
Good.
Yeah, we show up as number one on a lot of reports for different metrics.
And when you say real estate, are you 504, 7A, conventional? What do you focus with?
So the lead program is 504. Then we'll do a conventional for owner user, and then we do a little bit of investor.
I mean, you've got to love the rates in 504 these days.
They're amazing. Yep, and that 25-year, the 25 years helped a lot too.
And when you do the first position, what is the rate on that, Blake?
Yeah, so it kind of varies based on the collateral, but we're seeing, and we're doing 5, 7, and 10-year fixed primarily is what we're doing, and we're starting at 3 on 5-year fixed, at 3.5 on 7.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just so great for Main Street entrepreneurs. Hey, Blake, I really appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
It's okay.
All right, let's go to the poll questions. And here it is. Do you think there will be a recession in the last half of 2020, Lance?
Bob, I think if we asked this question 60 days ago, we might get a completely different response.
2 weeks ago.
When the guy comes, I'll do the holding. Thank you very much.
Susie, mute yourself.
Get there.
It's like 3
I actually think, Bob, that we have, well, I mean, it's obvious. I'm just telling everybody something they know. I think the fear of the coronavirus, I think the changes in the market as a result of it all potentially could create a light recession in the second
Look,
half.
Lance and I have talked about this consistently for the last 5 years to work with Lance. We have always said there will be a recession. We're not predicting when, but
Susie said,
plan accordingly. Susie, mute it. Mute the iPad.
But Bob, I agree. If you asked me this question 30 days ago, I'd say probably not in 2020, probably push into 2021. But I'm starting to be a believer that we may see a light recession.
Well, and Lance and I have been around for a long time. This is not 1980 where prime was 22.5% and credit was C. This is not 2008. But you know, they were starting to get into interesting times. That's all that Lance and I are saying.
Well, Bob, and what it brings up is you really want to shore up. We talked about the restaurants you had visited. As an SBA participant lender, quite often we get in this origination mode, and we forget that those loans have to be serviced. You know, past dues have been very light, but servicing is, you know, of course I say that all the time, Bob, but servicing and liquidation skill sets are going to be critical.
But let's do
in
the
the last
site
half of
visit.
2020.
Yeah, let's do the site visits. Let's talk to our borrowers, and when they're in distress, as Lance was saying, we have things in the toolbox to help them out, and don't add to their, you know, don't think that they have to do a keys for envelope type thing, and they say, no, there's things we can do to help them out.
Well, and remember the SOP does state in a number of places that the SBA's participant lenders' goal in servicing is to find a way to help the small business borrower pay the loan
That's
back.
the whole purpose of SBA. Yeah, SBA does not want to close them down. Let's go to number 2. Will you comment on the proposed SBA interim final rule?
Well, Bob,
And those comments are due by, Lance, you know this better than me, April 11th. Is that correct?
I think that's correct, Bob. And of course, there have been a few thousand comments, but there are some important things found in those final rules. And of course, we're doing a webinar next week on Wednesday to discuss the changes.
It's easy to do. It can only be a paragraph. You can go online. If there's something there that you don't like, please do it. SBA is very receptive to industry participant interaction. And if there's something else you want changed, go ahead and do it. But there's a lot of stuff in there. It's a 31-page rule. And there's a lot of things going on with that. So I'm glad to see 15% said yes.
And Bob, your comments are important. If you read the rule, the publication, SBA changed their initial stand on some of these in the initial
based on industry
comments. Yes.
Right. So so they are receptive and they're open to that. Number 3, Here we go, Lance. And Lance, you've already weighed in on this. Your bank has instituted a ban, correct?
Well, there's not a ban on travel, but travel is being closely monitored by our travel office and by our various division presidents as a result of the coronavirus.
Right. Or in your case, the Bud Light virus. Oh, I'm glad to see. I'm glad to see 60s, 2/3 say no. I'm just, but I asked the question because it's all over the news. Big time media hysteria. Look, our editorial philosophy is simple. We do not fan hysteria. Our job is to go ahead and tell people, put things into context. So, and I know, Jennifer, you probably didn't want to see that answer.
Well, I was glad that it turned out the way it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And our fourth question is, we always like to survey our people. How do you view the show?
Bob, I hope everybody's in a conference room with a ton of other staff members.
Throw some pizza at them, some chicken wings, and
Yeah.
I'd be curious on this. We know how Paul answers. We got a picture of him in a golf cart on his mobile app. So
That's dedication, Paul. Pure dedication.
Okay. All right. I was hoping it would be more conference, but thank you for those answers. Let's see. We have a question from Jim. Can a borrower convert money from a brokerage account to an IRA during application process to gain clients with the new personal resource test, Lance?
SBA has a look-back period, so the answer to this is no. They're trying to avoid that liquidity being included in the new personal resource test. And so if you've gotten a personal financial statement from an individual borrower and they had plenty of liquidity, they can't all of a sudden move it all to a 401k, an IRA, to avoid that being part of the calculation.
And if you are, and my answer on this one is, if you think that there may be a good reason to do that, submit it GP. That way you don't have an eligibility problem.
Absolutely.
Lance, does the personal resource test impact the credit elsewhere rule?
That's what the personal resource test is all about, credit elsewhere. One of the determinations of credit elsewhere is whether or not the individual guarantors have personal resources that could finance some or all of the project. And that's the whole purpose. Now, the personal resource test, and again, we're talking about it Wednesday in the webinar. Bob, on a loan under 350, the minimum starting point is 500K.
Yeah.
How many small loan borrowers do you have with 500K in liquidity?
Yeah.
The answer to that question for me this year is 0. So, and if you look at other loan sizes, there's a minimum amount of liquidity. There's a multiple, but a minimum amount of liquidity. But the long and short of it is the personal resource test is not really going to impact us that much, but we do have to calculate it.
And remember, there's carve-outs, and SBA in the rule says very specifically make exceptions. And my interpretation of that is, I got kids going to college. I have to take care of an elderly family member. I'm going to keep money to buy a building and expand my business. So there are carve-outs. So just don't turn that down, but you got to submit a GP.
Yeah, but it's a great question, Mike, and absolutely the personal resource test is an important part of credit elsewhere.
And there's the ways to respond to the rule. You can go online and do that. And if you can get the rule on our website, if you have an issue, contact me. Don't contact Joseph. Joseph's not answering any of his phones. Katie, let's bring you into the conversation. What's going on with small business owner optimism?
Right. So I really included this because I think it's important with the coronavirus and everyone being scared right now. Small businesses are still pretty optimistic. You're seeing more than half of these survey respondents from Hiscox's survey that was done a couple weeks ago said that they feel better about the state of the economy right now than they did last year. And a lot of them said that they were prepared for an economic downturn if that does happen. About 66% said they're ready for that, and about 90% say they take precautions as necessary so that they will be ready for that.
My personal opinion is I think our Main Street entrepreneurs are a whole lot smarter than they were in 2008. They were able to survive the recession, and they all, as Lance and I talk about, they all know there are hiccups in the economy and what happens, and they're planning for that. Let's see. Katie, give us an update on what's going on with Community Advantage.
Okay, so Community Advantage really announced 2 major changes, as well as a couple just notes about what to expect in the coming months. And the major changes are that they're going to allow for refinancing non-SBA guaranteed same institution debt. And you of course can read all about the specific details about that in the document, the notice that was submitted on Monday. And the other change is that they're changing the number of loans a Community Advantage lender must make before processing under delegated authority. Currently, that's 7. It is going up to 10.
Okay, very good. I'm a huge fan of this program. I've had conversations with the Community Advantage lenders, or primarily CDCs, and I clearly understand that these are higher risk loans, but they're also smaller loans. And I think for SBA to continue to be a viable program, lenders need to embrace this. So I'm glad to see the CDCs are involved with this. And there's one other rule change in there. If you're in California, you can now go to Nebraska if you have a prior business relationship. How's that work?
I'm not entirely sure how that works. It was not super clear to me.
Bob, it's somewhat like a CDC on a 504 deal. If they have a relationship with a borrower who's, let's say, has a loan in California, and that same borrower is doing a loan in Texas, my understanding is that same CDC, even though it's not technically in their area, could do that. And that's what I understand to happen.
That's my understanding as well. All right, what did this fraudster do, Katie?
Okay, so as we know, there's been a lot of fraud cases coming out from Hurricane Harvey, and there's still investigation into about 5 cases from the Houston area. In particular, there's one man who recently, just last month, pled guilty to $53,000 in SBA loan fraud. What he did was he claimed that his home had sustained significant damage when in fact it did not. What's interesting is then he took the money and paid on his mortgage, and then a large portion of the money got siphoned out and ended up somehow in Kenya. I'm not sure what he was paying for in Kenya, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's really sad.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Lance, tell us about the webinar next Wednesday.
Well, on Wednesday, we're going to talk about the new SBA rules that, of course, you can start implementing now. But the actual the final date for implementation is in October this year. But we're going to cover that new personal resource test. We're going to talk a lot about fees that can be charged to the borrower, as well as, the definition of agent, packager, LSP, who can charge what, and SBA has set some new fee maxes that are very clear, very easy to understand, but you need to know about those going forward. And for all the bankers out there who have struggled with the loan packaging fee, there was clarification on the loan packaging fee.
Clear clarification.
Yeah, so we're going to cover all those and help you understand what you need to be doing.
And the registration form is in the GoToWebinar dashboard. Send me an email directly. Don't send it to Joseph. We're going through his emails, but send it to me. Hey, Jennifer.
Yes.
Who's your mysterious guest?
All right. I present to you Region 8 Administrator Daniel Norberg.
Hey, good morning. How's everybody doing?
Great. Thanks for joining us. Tell us about the event.
Yeah, we're having a great day in Salt Lake City and America West.
Well, I'm going to cut you off.
Yeah.
First of all, what's the weather like there?
Okay, it is 60 degrees.
No. Awesome.
So I'm sweating a little bit. It's so hot. So we picked a right day for this conference.
And what is Region 8? What geographical territory do you cover?
Yeah, you bet. It's the Rocky Mountain region. So it's Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Utah.
You know, that's a tough gig. All right, now go back.
Somebody has to do it though. So I'm glad it's me.
So tell us about the event. What's going on?
Yeah, what's great about America West is it allows for interaction at kind of a more micro level where we're able to communicate with one another, meet with one another. So we have a great program today on, international trade and some of the neat initiatives going on here in Utah. We're going to be talking about opportunity zones and what we're doing at the agency level to encourage private investment in economically distressed areas. And we're also talking about the rulemaking process right now for FDIC and some of the other federal regulators on CRA credit for opportunity zone investments. That's a big interest to SBA lenders. This is one of the first panels that we're doing in partnership with them on this issue. So we're looking forward to getting feedback on that and getting some interaction with the audience on that one.
I think that's great. In fact, we have a special guest next week who's going to talk about SBICs and opportunity zones. So I think opportunity zones is a very interesting concept for lenders, and I know there's tax issues and tax savings and things that are going on. So I'm really glad to see the agency embrace that concept.
Yeah, and the neat thing about it too is whether an opportunity zone deal happens or not, one of the great things about the whole program is it's been spurring economic development conversation and positive speculation. So we're having lenders meet with businesses as a result of pitches that they're doing at various opportunity zone roadshows. And so whether or not it ends up being an opportunity zone deal or not, we're having the lender being put in conversation with small businesses, and they're getting the capital they need one way or the other. So kind of some of those ancillary impacts that's been very positive.
I'm a huge fan of your export lending programs, the 90% guarantees. How important is exporting for Region 8? Is it that important? I mean, tell me more about that.
Yeah, it is important, and it's one of the things that we're pushing. Fortunately, today we had our Associate Administrator for the Office of International Trade, David Glackham, out here, who great presentation on our export products, trying to, again, get that information out to lenders as to how to utilize that program. But I have the most rural region in all of SBA, the states that I cover. And the thing I love is that you have these small rural companies that are just starting to get their products to the global marketplace.
Right.
Some at a very successful level. And so that's kind of our focus out here in Region 8. How can we help these rural businesses get to global markets? And the export lending products that we have can help do just that. So it's been a good conversation.
Is Canada considered a global market?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a foreign market. And like many of the states in Region 8, I know for Utah, Canada is the #1 trading partner.
That makes sense. Hey, I really appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for the update. Jennifer, we got a list of all your upcoming conferences. Anything you want to tell us about anything?
Well, we are on as scheduled, Bob, with all of our conferences in light of the latest coronavirus. Asheville, Southeastern Small Business, we are still having our conference. It's going to be great. We've got about 430 people registered, so
Awesome.
still make plans to
Well,
attend.
you know, I'm a huge fan of any type of training. I prefer you do Coleman training with Bob and Lance. Go to Jennifer's conferences, go to the Nagels, NADCOs. It just makes us all better lenders. Very good. Well, I think Lance and Katie, I think we pulled it off without Joseph. So, and I there was a question we missed on the restaurant, but I promised someone we would do it, hold it over. I will promise to do it next week. But thank you all for joining us. Have a nice weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Have a great weekend.
Oh, now are you going to close us off, Katie, or am I going to do it?
I'll try. There we go.
Okay.
Bye.